seventh Doctor was played by Sylvester McCoy from 1987 to 1989, lasting from seasons 24, 25 and 26, spanning an era of 3 years until the series' cancellation in 1989. Seven got off to a very shaky start for fans, with his debut story Time on the Rani considered one of the worst stories in the show's history, with a tacked-on lazy regeneration for Colin Baker's Doctor because he refused to come back for a regeneration scene. So all they did was stick McCoy in a blonde curly wig and Colin's costume and filmed it from behind, to which he then changed. It's kind of a testament of how little crap some people gave at that point, and how Six regenerated is a little unclear, but there are theories that suggest he either fell off his exercise bike, was killed in an unseen adventure by an enemy we had not seen yet, who I'll talk about in a while, and the most insane of all, he was killed in his mind by the unborn seventh Doctor. Seven started off as an inferior copy of Patrick Troughton's Doctor, being impish and comedic, but starting from season 25, he became darker, more manipulative, and sometimes having resolved the story before he even started, and was suggested to be far more than just another Time Lord. I love this characterisation of the Doctor. It makes the character more alien than he ever has been before, and it tries to bring more mystery to him. This is known amongst fans as the Cartmel Master Plan, as many of these ideas came from script editor Andrew Cartmel and many of the other writers. Sadly, their plans were cut short, as in 1989 the BBC chose to cancel the show, and this time for a lot longer. I know, terrible. Seven faced old enemies such as the Daleks, Cybermen and the Master, but arguably his most recurring enemy was Fenric, an evil that existed since the dawn of time that the Doctor has fought for centuries. His best companion was Ace, a working class girl from London, who you could argue is the basis for Rose, but she's much better. She was given more of a character than previous companions, even seeing her hometown and revealing her troubled childhood that we had not seen in previous companions. There were hints in the past, but not to this extent. Now, with all that history out of the way, let's count down the best that the Master Manipulator had to offer. Number 5. Ghostlight. While being a great episode, this is arguably the most complicated story in the show's history, but that should not definitely put you off Ghostlight. The Doctor brings Ace to an old Victorian house in 1883, but the house in 100 years' time will be burnt down by Ace as a teenager. That may not sound complicated on the surface, but there's more. There's an alien in the basement called Light that will decide the future of humanity if he doesn't like what he sees. An explorer named Redvers has gone mad by what he's seen in the basement. There's a Neanderthal-like servant. The owner of the house plots to use Light to take over the British Empire by killing Queen Victoria, and underneath all this is a subtext about evolution and change. Though I must warn you, in order to fully understand it, you do have to watch it at least 2 or 3 times, and that does kind of bring it down a bit, but it's one of the most densely written and challenging set of scripts that the series has ever had. Think of the story as a jigsaw puzzle that you have to put together yourself without anyone helping you or holding your hand. Ghostlight is also an examination of Ace's past fears, as she has to stay in a house that she'll burn down in 100 years' time, and it's all part of the Doctor's plan to have her face all her fears, but not out of, say, malicious intent or anything, but to test her and to have her grow up. Production-wise, the sets and costumes are brilliant, the direction is atmospheric, and the music is eerily effective. If anything I said interests you, do check out Ghostlight, but give it multiple watches before fully judging it, and you'll find one of Andrew Cartmel's best visions for Doctor Who. Number 4. The Curse of Fenric. You could argue that Curse of Fenric set the template for the Moffat era of Doctor Who, such as setting in World War II, multi-connected storytelling that was set up in previous series and paid off here, and the... what's the word?
Wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
Yeah, that stuff. The TARDIS arrives at a naval base in Yorkshire where a scientist, Dr. Judson, uses a computer to break German codes, but ends up translating ancient runes from the crypt of the local church, which leads to the release of Fenric, an evil entity from the dawn of time who the Doctor trapped thousands of years ago by defeating it at chess. With Fenric's release come the Hemovores, humans that have transformed into vampire creatures that begin attacking the naval base. This story has Seven at his most deceitful, as he has Ace lose faith in him in order to defeat Fenric, and did all this without her consent and to make her a stronger person. Ace also gets the shock of her life as she saves her baby and her mother from the Hemovores by sending them both to Perivale, but the baby is Ace's mother, the mother she would grow to hate, in turn creating her own future and promising that she'll always love her. Furthermore, you think that Moffat was the first to make multi-connected series in Doctor Who? Nah, Curse of Fenric did it first. Ace being taken from her home and transported to Iceworld where she would meet the Doctor in Dragonfire, that was Fenric. The chess set seen in Silver Nemesis that the Doctor made a move on, he was fighting Fenric at the time in order to keep Fenric trapped. The Hemovores are also great monsters, and if you look at their costumes, you'll see that they're from different periods in history, implying Fenric's everlasting presence throughout time. As I said, this is the most Moffatish story of the classic era, and if you like the sound of that, check this out. Even if it suffers a little from muddled plotting like Ghostlight. There is an extended cut of this story which you can check out on the DVD, but with excellent atmosphere, clever writing, Seven and Ace at their most interesting, and evil itself as the enemy, Curse of Fenric is definitely something special.
Number 3. Survival.
This was the final story of the classic era, and as story goes, it ends on a high note. The Doctor takes Ace to present-day Perivale to revisit her old friends. However, most of them have been transported to the planet of the Cheetah people, a race with the power to teleport through space, but also on the planet is the Master, who has lured the Doctor to try and escape the planet. The Cheetah people spend all day fighting, which in turn is leading to the planet's destruction, and the more you fight, the more you become a cheetah person and an animal, hence the reason why the Master wishes to escape. This is Anthony Ainley's best performance of the Master, as he becomes ever more desperate to avoid being an animal, but the more time goes on, the more he begins to embrace it, and the performance is just the right balance of animalistic and insane, but he also retains that charm that the Master has. The themes of survival are also brilliant here, as it wraps up Ace's past life while also bringing the idea of when is it right to fight. On this planet you have to do it to survive, but if you do, you become more of an animal and lose your humanity. With its setting in contemporary Earth, you could argue that this helped set the template for the Russell T Davies era of Doctor Who, due to Ace wanting to return to her hometown like many of Russell's companions. If you like that sort of structure of Doctor Who, then this story is a good one to check out if you want to get into the classic show. The Cheetah people are also great monsters, as they could easily rip you to shreds, and you understand why our characters must escape the planet in order to avoid becoming one of them. The writer of the story, Rona Munro, would then go on to be the only classic Who writer to work on the new series, writing the series 10 episode, The Eaters of Light. Plus, the story ends on a beautiful note where the Doctor and Ace walk into the sunset, with the Doctor telling her the universe is massive and they have work to do, while the tea is getting cold. With mature writing, an excellent villain, great monsters and superb music, Survival is definitely an excellent ending for Doctor Who.
Number 2. Remembrance of the Daleks.
This is easily the most explosive Doctor Who story in more ways than one. The Doctor and Ace arrive in November 1963, where two rival Dalek factions, one loyal to the Emperor, one loyal to the Dalek Supreme, are seeking the Hand of Omega, Time Lord technology that the Doctor hid on Earth in his first incarnation. This story opens season 25 on a high note, and I know Silver Nemesis is considered the 25th anniversary story, but for me, this is the celebration because it's a much better story. The seeds of the Doctor's manipulation begin with this story as he reprograms the Hand of Omega and convinces Davros, who is now the Dalek Emperor, to use it on Skaro's son, but instead it vaporizes it and then sends it back to destroy the Dalek mothership, effectively committing genocide. And as an added bonus, the Doctor arrives on Earth and literally talks the last surviving Dalek to death by convincing it it's the last of its kind and it self-destructs. The Daleks in this story are also on top form, as they're not overshadowed by Davros like they are in previous stories. They fight and exterminate anything that isn't them, and even their own kind in this story, as both the Renegade and Imperial Daleks are different mutations in which they hate each other's chromosomes, resulting in an all-out war. And for the first time, we see the Daleks conquer their oldest enemy. No, not the Doctor. The stairs. Now you think the new series fixed that problem? Think again and watch this story. Not to mention, this is Ace's first travelling in the TARDIS, and she and Seven already make a brilliant team, as Sophie Aldred brings so much energy and likeability that makes the story seem so fresh, as we see the 1960s from her viewpoint, with superb action, a confident script, the Daleks on top form, and the Doctor being far more than just another Time Lord. Remembrance of the Daleks is definitely an anniversary worth remembering.
Number 1. The greatest show in the galaxy.
Not a lot of fans have this story as their favourite from the 7th Doctor era, as they more go for, say, Remembrance of the Daleks or the Curse of Fenric. But the reason this is my favourite, because it encompasses everything I love about Doctor Who. The Doctor learns that Ace has a phobia of clowns, and so logically he decides to take her to a circus that are filled with them. The psychic circus is dominated by the chief clown, who organises a talent contest that must entertain the ancient gods of Ragnarok, who must be entertained or you die. This story is filled with humour, horror, surrealism, magic, and even has a touch of meta-humour with the character of the Whiz Kid. The Whiz Kid is a parody, albeit not a subtle one, of Doctor Who fans, as he claims he has never seen the early days of the psychic circus and knows it's not as good as it used to be, but he's still terribly interested. While some may find the Whiz Kid insulting, this to me is a much better parody of the fandom than Love and Monsters did, which suggests that Doctor Who is amazing because you touched the hand of God, when in reality all you did was see David Tennant. Greatest Show's message is that Doctor Who is not perfect and never will be, which in my opinion is a much better message than anything Love and Monsters tried to say about the Doctor Who fandom, apart from having the Absorbal offbeat Ian Levine. The supporting cast in this are all excellent, with Ian Reddington giving a chilling performance as the chief clown, T.P. McKenna as the uptight Captain Cook, and Jessica Martin as the vulnerable Mags, who hides a deadly secret about herself. The Doctor and Ace are once again on top form, with the Doctor using his magic tricks to entertain the gods to keep them satisfied. He also claims to have fought them throughout time, and Ace gets to face her fear of clowns, which is metaphorical in bringing down the circus. In order for the circus to be destroyed, Ace must go on and face her own fears. On a final note, this has one of the best shots in the show's history when the Doctor walks away from the exploding circus. McCoy pulls it off flawlessly, and I think some of his costume was burnt while he walked away. With an excellent cast, great villains, atmospheric music, tons of storytelling tones that blend together perfectly, I have to name The Greatest Show in the Galaxy as my favourite story from the McCoy era. Well everyone, that's all from me. I hope you enjoyed my choices. Let me know in the comments what your favourite stories are from the 7th Doctor. Be sure to like, comment and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter. And I'll see you all next time for Unlimited Rice Pudding.